Well, hello there, Tampa Bay, and welcome to the Coach White Sports Special. I'm your host, Coach Chuck White, and my guest is Coach Sanford Ross. Coach Ross attended public schools in the Tampa Bay area. He also played football and basketball at Blake High School. He also attended Fort Valley State College where he graduated, and he also played varsity football. He's an outstanding person with the Legends sports group right here in Tampa. So you see him with that Legends shirt on, you know what that means. A group of former athletes and athletes' friends. Coach Ross, it's been a while since I've seen you. Let me shake your hand and just say, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Coach. My pleasure.
All right, you want to talk just a little louder so the public out there can hear you, but our mics will be carrying it right on. Coach, let's talk about your early days, childhood days. You started off at Dobyville Public School, that's the elementary school. Was there anything involving in sandlot or tripping or playing football around the school at that time?
Oh, yes, that's a community in Old West Hyde Park.
Oh, yes.
Right by the railroad track, surrounded by bakeries, Southern Bakery and Chitlow Bakeries.
Oh, yeah.
And we had sand everywhere. So when you say sand lot, we were really on the sand lots.
You were really on the sand lot because there was sand on all those lots during that time. Well, after you left Dobyville, you went to the junior high school. You told me before we came on the air that Carver phased out before you finished elementary school. How far did you go at Dobyville?
I went to Dobyville, grades 1 through 4.
Yeah.
And they phased Dobyville out. And 5 and 6, I went to Carver, who was originally a junior high school.
Yeah.
And I spent 5 and 6, grade 5 and 6 at Carver.
Well, you were following the path in which I had treaded during that time. I went to Dobyville, but it was 1st through 6th.
Right.
And when I left, I went to Booker T. Washington, and I left there because Carver was just starting. So I was one of the first guys, I guess you could say. I just started that over at Carver Junior High School, following behind the Middleton Senior High School who was there. Well, after you went to Carver and you stayed there a while, where did you get your senior high? Did you go through 7th grade or what?
Junior high, I went to Blake. It was Blake Junior Senior.
Blake Junior Senior, all right.
We had a brand new school built in 1956, and I was just going to the 7th grade.
Wow.
And for the next 5 years plus, I was at Blake Junior Senior High School. So now they have the new Blake, and every time I said I went to Blake for 6 years, everybody thought I was a little on the slow slide.
They say you went to Blake for 6 years. Good God, man. It took you 6 years to finish that? Well, Blake was starting at 7th grade. I can remember that well, very well.
Right.
And we had great teachers, great coaches, and great players during the time. Can you remember some of the coaching staff at Blake, or when did you get on the football team at Blake?
Well, I started early. I started playing varsity in 8th grade. I went out for football in 8th grade, and so I played the next 4 years with the varsity there. There were some really big guys who were seniors that I got a chance to interact with, but having gone, from 7th grade, and even at Carver, 5th and 6th grade, we had a little team called the Baby Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
So that was my first formal football. All we had was helmets and shoulder pads. Nothing below, no thigh pads, no knee pads. So I started with the Baby Yellow Jackets in 5th and 6th. And then 7th, I was a Baby Yellow Jacket still, but 8th, I was on the varsity. And man, my head was as big as an airplane.
You were a pioneer for the JVs, as I can see. And then on the varsity team, not 9th, but 8th grade. And I thought I was doing something being on the varsity at 9th grade, but you were on the varsity at 8th grade. Can you remember some of your teammates at that time?
I was sort of big for my age at that time. And in seventh grade, I was wearing like 145, and that was like huge during that era. And I thought I was going to really be a big guy. I didn't realize I was going to stop growing. Because had I known, I would have been a running back instead of a lineman.
Yeah.
So I topped out at 185. But there were big linemen when I got there, like Ernest Reese, Professor Jones, Ulysses Jones, B.J. Ford, and these guys were huge. And then there were some guys that was more my size, like Henry Killings and Tommy Hill, and we had running backs galore, Bobby Jones and Bernard Clark and Jake Knight, who was like all world, and we just had a good time at Blake.
You were calling some real superstars, but Blake did. Those guys weren't too large, but they were very talented. They're very talented.
Well, you remember the slogan, right?
Yes.
We'll often be outweighed, but never outplayed.
Yes, I remember that quite well. Often outweighed, but never outplayed. Now, there's two guys come to mind when I think of linemen that were real strong and vicious linemen. We call him Super Duper, Jerry Mormon. Can you say anything about him?
Yes, he was extremely strong.
Yes.
He played quite a few years too. His nickname was Super Duper.
Yes, sir.
He was a wedge buster, an offense buster. Whenever coach wanted to get something done, he was a wreck. He just crashed. Yeah. Forget technique. He just run and tackle somebody in the backfield.
Yes, they see this hole here. Anything come through that tackle, and he would. Now the other one was who's acclaimed as the best lineman that came through Blake. That was Rudy, and we said Tankhead. Some of us would call him, but everybody couldn't call him Tankhead. He had a big head. We had to buy a special helmet for him. Everybody had on a black helmet with gold stripes. He had a big white helmet because he had to get a different helmet. Rudy Sims was one of the best linemen we had, offensive, defense, bar none. And I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I agree. I took exception because I was 2 grades ahead of Rudy, and I kind of talked him into coming out. And at first, I could kind of put him down. He had zero technique, so on all the running plays, I could handle him pretty good. Yes. But boy, if we had to pass, he was strong as an ox, and he was big and fast. So pound for pound, he's probably the best lineman that ever came through Blake.
What I'm saying, he ended up, as you said, when he first started, you beat him down, but as he grew and grew and grew, his later part of football, he was just vicious. We would put Rudy on one side of the line, and they would run to the opposite side. Then we put him over there, they run back there. So we said, I know what we do. We put him in the middle. Now he can go either way. I didn't say anything about the coaching staff, and I guess those of you who listen, I keep saying we. You want to talk about the coaching staff.
Okay, at that time, we had our head coach was James Big Jim Williams.
Big Jim Williams.
And we also had Charles Perry.
Charles Perry.
Who was on defense.
Yeah.
We had Pete Saunders, who was a backfield coach.
Yeah.
We had Coach Oscar Johnson, who's presently a minister.
Yeah.
Who was a receiver coach. We had Coach Chuck White, who was a defensive coach and a receiver coach also, kind of all around.
Yes.
And I think we had Coach Tim Thomas coming out. He was a little behind you guys.
Yeah, he was specialty.
Yeah.
Well, I took pride in working my way up to the top assistant. Perry was there 1 year while I was there, and he left. And then I became the top assistant to Big Jim Williams. And that means, as you just said, I would work with the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, and I work with the special. I work with anything to assist Jim, and many times I help Jim make decisions about a lot of things. So I felt very good about certain things, even though he and I would argue one way, but you know who would win out on the argument. And then maybe next game or two, Jim might come in with it, but if I say, let's do this, then he wouldn't do it then, but maybe later on. But Jim was one of the great coaches, and as Rabbit Harris, who played with Jim in high school, he said Jim was the best passer and best punter in high school or college football during his days. Now, let's talk about after you left Blake High School. Then you went to Fort Valley State University. How did you get there? What route did you take? How were you able to go into that university?
It's a funny thing. I wanted to go to A&M, but as I said, I didn't grow much. I came out at 185, and I thought I was pretty good. I was all state, but I was nowhere near the size lineman that they had at Florida A&M.
Yes.
And Coach Jake Gaither recommended that I go to Knoxville College, and I was quite disappointed.
That was his alma
because I
mater.
wanted to be a Rattler.
Yes.
And it was like, you're too small, you're not good enough, and that really hurt. But he recommended me for Knoxville. And I didn't want to go to Knoxville, but I ended up going to Fort Valley State by way of Coach Ronald Brown, who went to Middleton. And there were about 20 of us went at the same time. And I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I couldn't have made a better choice.
So Coach Ronald Brown was a coach over at Middleton High School at the time, and he recommended you to the head coach at Fort Valley University. You went along with about 20 guys.
Right.
So you felt good going with a lot of your friends, so you felt very comfortable.
Oh, yes.
Now, who's the head coach at Fort Valley then? Can you remember?
At that time, it was Albert Table.
Albert
Coach
Tabor,
Albert Tabor.
Tuskegee.
I think he ended up coaching for the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, he was a
tough.
great coach, quarterback.
And he also coached Ronald Brown, who was an outstanding athlete at Fort Valley State. And if you remember, we had a lot of guys from Tampa went up there. Al Bonds, Rolf Foster, guys like that. So the trail had been blazed when I went there.
Right.
If you came from Tampa, they knew you could play football.
Oh, yes.
And you asked me about the trail. The one thing, those coaches I named in high school, the one thing y'all did have in common, and I tried to pattern myself after that, y'all taught great fundamentals. You know, we believed in doing it right.
Yes, sir.
You know? And so I had like a head start when I got to college. I was like leap years ahead of all the guys there.
Well, you know, that made me feel good when you guys would come back and I asked you how you like and everything. You say, Coach, we're ahead of those guys. We know how to block and tackle correctly. The coach have to teach them so much techniques and this, that, the other, but we knew how to get down with a proper stance and whatever, and that was just old hat to us. You know, during our days, we taught proper techniques, but then we didn't have terminology for it as they do today. We just show you what foot is forward or this foot here, how to break. They got so much the swim technique, the super this and that and all that. Make it sound like they're doing more than that. And that usually comes from those clinics. When they go to clinics, you really hear terminology and all that kind of stuff. They nickname the defense. They nickname the offense. They nickname the punt group and all that. Make it sound good. Give me the cat and mouse group. Give me this so-and-so. And I know when I was at FAMU, we had different names. When I left, they had the blood, sweat, and the tears and all that with Jake Gaither. Now, what was it as a player that you saw at Blake and you carried over into Fort Valley? You just said you had the techniques. Now, looking back in high school, as today's high school football, as opposed to yesteryears when you played, are there any vast differences? Is it about the same? Which one outweigh the other? So how do you see football today as opposed to yesteryear as a high school player?
Well, I think I got the best of two worlds. I got that good old-fashioned hard-nosed football. We had technique, but as you said, the terminology, the technology wasn't there. But y'all kept it simple.
Yes.
Jim would always say, football is a game of nothing but blocking and tackling. Just that simple.
Blocking on
And one of your
offense.
things was, if you get to the quarterback, that's the best pass defense. Now, you can have all kind of blitzes and all kind of designs, but if the quarterback is upside down, he can't hurt you. So we rushed the quarterback hard. We rushed the running backs hard, and we just used speed, and now they're having that as a special part of the game. They bring in a guy on third down to rush the quarterback.
Yes.
So that's a change. We didn't have film of every little thing. We were lucky to get a film of a game, So we couldn't break down the game like they do now. Technically now they can break down every frame.
Every
From the
play.
minute you're in the huddle, you come to the line, they can break down what you do on your stance, what you do on your first step, second step, third step. So we didn't have that, and I don't know if that would have helped us back in the old days, but we just learned how to play.
Well, the coaches today, they can break it down to first down plays. On all first down, that's what they have it broken down there. All third downs are punting situations and all. And then they have all of the offense, all of the defense, and what they do at halftime when we went into one room. Today's guys, they go into 2 or 3 different rooms. The offense go this way, the defense go this way, and the special team go this way, the punt. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You don't have to be in and listen to them talk about the backs, and then they have to take so long before they get to it. They save time, they say, by specialization. Everybody doing special things over here with the linemen, offensive linemen here, defense in there. I think that is good during that time. But it all boils down to the basic same thing as Coach Williams told you. You said it's 2 things you do in football. You block and you tackle. If you're on offense, you got to block. You're on football. Now, the difference in the drills that I see, we had live blocking, live tackling. They have dummy tackling. We were the dummies. When I say we, the players, we were dummies when we were in high school. The guys run through us just like they do a dummy. Now they got a statue, a dummy, but we were the dummy. They just run right through us.
In later years, toward the end of my coaching career, when I tried some of those drills, they thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
The staff say, you don't hit your own men like that.
Yeah.
But the way we learn, you fit.
Yeah.
There's a difference in tackling a dummy and a man. The shape is even different.
Yeah.
So, you would have us to lock our arms on an individual, and you would fit and squeeze. On the dummy, you couldn't get that full effect. But I tell you, all of the drills was human being drills. There was very few dummies. It was like a scrimmage every play, every day, and that kind of thing. So I think they lost out on that. I think we got better reactions, a better feel for the game. Like I said, technically, they could figure out, in the later years of practice, they could hit a button and tell you what the team does on every third down. We had to kind of figure that out.
Yes.
They know how many passes they run, how many run plays they run, how many they run to the right, how many they run to the left. So it gave you a little edge. It gives you a little edge now. And if you notice in Pro Bowl, they got that thing down so pat.
Oh man.
They can close down in a second. Because it's like the plays. But it took a little mystery and a little fun out of the game, I thought.
I notice in football today, if a guy's running to your right, your head's supposed to go to his right as you see his body. If he's going, you put your head in front and make the tackle with this shoulder. But I see the guys now put their head behind, and sometimes they slip out of that tackle. They don't get a chance to lock. I was talking with my grandson who lives with me, David White, who's now going to Florida A&M on a football scholarship. I said, David, you guys got to get that head in this. They want you to put your chest almost on his number and all that. But you can't put your head in there. They say that's spearing something. Can you explain that to our listeners about the spear, tackling, penalty?
Well, you can't use your head as a weapon. The headgear. Now, we were taught to use the head.
That's what I'm saying. They turn their head.
Due to so many injuries. And normally, we were taught to bull the neck or to pull the neck back.
Yes.
Our bull. And when the players start putting their head down and going directly into an individual, it stops them immediately, but it jams your neck. So that started cause a lot of spinal injuries and broken necks and some permanent injuries and even death. So now they're trying to make the game a little more safe, to keep that headgear off. If you butt with the head or hit with the head, normally it's a flag.
I noticed there were a lot of penalties last year and the year before with the head. And one guy said he's almost ready to quit football if he can't play football like he was taught early years. He was taught to run through a man head first. Now they don't want that head to hit first. If you lead with your head, a spear and all that, and especially if he's down. Now, the quarterback, they said, should wear, they put different colors on the quarterback in practice and all that. They said, well, shoot, what they need to do is give quarterback a different jersey. One guy said, no, they need to give him a dress. Put the quarterback in a dress, he got too much protection. But he's the most vulnerable and most valuable person on the team. They can't replace a quarterback as easily as they can a lineman or a running back or a receiver. They got quarterback, but there's a vast difference. So in most places, not all. So they protect the quarterbacks. I notice as the pass is thrown, and the same thing with the punter. If you touch the punter after he kicks the ball and not injure him, but however he goes through some act and he falls down, it's a different than running through the kicker and roughing the kicker. Can you explain that?
Well, really, the idea of the entire thing is to make the game safe.
Yes.
As little kids, mothers tell their kids, don't play football because it's too dangerous.
Yes.
And I remember growing up, all the parents would think the first thing that's going to happen if you play football, you're going to get a broken leg.
Yes.
So all the kids who didn't want to play, I won't go out there, you ain't going to break my leg.
Can't you break something else other than the leg?
But the thing is, football is if you do it right, it's a safe game.
Yeah.
First of all, you got almost everything covered, from head to your feet, everything covered. And when they find out that there are many, many injuries, they try to work on that, to eliminate the injuries. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to get hurt. You can get hurt playing any sport. If you notice, you get hurt in basketball, baseball, hockey, or any sport you play. I just heard all the golfers understand they got backaches and knee aches. So, you can just get injured getting out of bed. But as far as the spearing and the neck injuries and now what's really, really prevalent, or what's coming out now, are concussions. It's kind of like boxing. Now these athletes are beginning to sue the league, 10, 15, 20 years later, because they said they were injured and nobody told them, and they played the next week or the week after that. And now I'm understanding they're having memory loss and they're having early signs of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And so now the league is really trying to tighten up on that.
Yeah, even Buccaneer players, Jimmy Giles and others, they're going to sue them here. Now, you said something about golf. It brought back memory that I have another grandson, Johnny Liggins. Johnny Liggins is a super golfer over at King High School. He's going to 10th grade. And he was just in 9th last year on the Vassar playing golf. And in the top 4 over there, he's like number 2 golfer, I think. And around the state, he has a rank, and he goes in and out of state playing golf month in and month out, week in and week out. And if he lasts throughout without any injuries and all this, which I don't think he would get too much in golf, he's going to be seen on Sundays playing professional golf. He's a great golfer.
Did he get that from Poppy?
Well,
you do not know your nickname.
Poppy started him, but his dad, I give his dad most of the credit. I got his dad and mom started in golf and him, but then his mom and dad took over, and his dad goes with them now.
Okay.
So his mom takes videos of him, and they go back and they analyze the videos, what he should have done, and this, that, the other. They do a great job with him, and he's a great golfer.
Good.
Yeah. And I have another granddaughter Chelsea, who goes to Bloomingdale, she plays great volleyball. Now, she had a sprain on her ankle. She got sprained. David had one injury. He came up through youth where I coached him and got him started. He was a running back. He went all through high school and everything. Never played junior varsity, but played high school over at Jefferson. You know him, David White, linebacker, defensive end, and plays all of the specialties. He said, Papa, I don't get a chance to sit down at all now. I said, when we play, I didn't want to sit down. I wanted to play all the time. He sprained his ankle, and I didn't know quite well how to take that, whether to go out there on the field or do this or what. I said, well, I got to kind of toughen up, let him be. So he's going through that now. I hope he can handle it through Florida A&M where he is now, and he's done that. Coach Ross, before we close, I want to ask you this. If you were in high school today and the principal say, Ross, we got to get you back in the athletic department. We're going to let you name your sport and what you want to coach. Which sport would that be?
Football, of course.
Football. Why would it be football? Because you played it or this, that, the other, you think is better or what? Why would it be football? More spectators or what?
No, I played football and basketball in high school. In fact, I was honored to be captain of both teams, football team and basketball team. And I like basketball, but I love football. And it offers more of a challenge for me. There's much more to me as for numerically and the technology of it. It challenges you. It's more like chess, you know.
Yes. I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. Captain of the football, captain of the baseball, and captain of basketball. I would choose to coach football because I think basketball is the safer sport. You never get it rained out, you're in the gym. But I like football because you're like a family, a larger family, the coaching staff. You sit and you plan it like a puzzle and you put puzzles together. Basketball, it's not simple as you say, but I like it, but I would rather coach football, I think, too. Out of all the things you played and all the people you played with, what would you want them to say about you as a player or coach, just as a person that went through athletics?
A little more about football. Y'all taught it was a game of life. And one thing about football, almost anything that could happen to you in life, you know, happens on the football field.
Well, Coach, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you for being here on the show. We certainly enjoyed having you in. I'm sure our listeners have gotten much out of it. So that's it for the Coach White Sports Special. We hope you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. So be with us again on our next show right here on the Tampa Bay Community Network.